We really are living in the future, aren't we? One of the things that I love most about teaching is that there are really no limits on how creative or experimental you are with your teaching. I mean, if a pilot is creative, we don't even call it creativity, we call it negligence. But there's nothing stopping you walking into class tomorrow and trying something that you've never tried before. In fact, there's nothing stopping you walking into class and trying something that no one's ever tried before. Hi, I'm Andrew Douch. What an exciting time to be in education. Access to technology is no longer an issue. Wi-Fi is reliable and ubiquitous. And devices have become easy to use even for non-technical teachers. In a rapidly changing world, the challenge that we face now is no longer access to technology, but a revision of our pedagogy. And one area that is really ripe for revision when it comes to pedagogy involves the use of engaging visuals. Great teachers have always tried to bring the learning alive for their students. And there's lots of ways of doing that, of course, using analogies and stories and hands-on practical activities. But one area that in the past has been actually quite difficult to do well is using engaging visuals. But new and emerging technologies make it possible now for us to create immersive learning experiences for our students in ways that we've never been able to do before. And that's really exciting. When I started teaching, the best visual activities, the best visual props that I had involved using an overhead projector, a sheet of acetate, and coloured pens. How things have changed. Staff at Monash University have access to some pretty high-end facilities when it comes to virtualisation. In the New Horizons building, for example, the Cave 2 is a ring of high-definition screens that allow an immersive three-dimensional virtual reality experience. You stand in the Cave 2 wearing polarising 3D glasses, and as you move about in that space, the images portrayed on the screen respond to your position, creating an incredibly realistic illusion of actually being there. And the lifelike effect is amplified by the fact that even your peripheral vision is filled with the scene that you're looking at. It really is the next best thing to actually being there. And the quality of images is quite stunning. The Cave 2 can portray topographic data captured by drones with a resolution down to 1.6 millimeters on the ground. It's really something. While the Cave 2 represents the state of the art when it comes to visualization hardware and software, I'm really excited by the fact that the development of virtual and augmented reality is exploding at the moment. It seems like every week there are new apps that allow us to visualize things in new ways. Virtual reality headsets are now inexpensive too, including Google Cardboard, which only costs about $15 a set. To use Google Cardboard, you simply put your phone into the flap at the front and launch one of the many available virtual reality apps, which show a separate image for each eye to create a three-dimensional illusion. And because of the accelerometer and gyroscope in the phone, you can move your head around in a scene to look at it from different angles and from different perspectives. Virtual reality has really found its niche in the gaming industry, but there are lots of really great apps that are useful in education too and provide students with the ability to see places and objects that they might not otherwise get to see in real life, such as, for example, looking around a tall ship, which is obviously a difficult thing to do in the modern day. Or perhaps standing on the surface of the moon and being able to look around that alien landscape to see what it would look like and to experience what it might look like to be there and to see the Earth in space from the perspective of the moon. Or perhaps to be able to dive with dolphins. And obviously you don't get wet, so some of those sensations are missing, but at least as far as the visual sensations are concerned, it feels really lifelike to be able to turn your head and look in any direction and see what's happening around you. Another great example might be if we wanted students to be able to experience what it would be like to see the aurora borealis. Obviously a difficult thing to do since we live in the southern hemisphere. But being able to stand there and look up or look down or look around to the left and the right and be able to experience that scene in 3 dimensions is a really amazing thing to do, considering that most of these apps cost only $1 or $2 and the Google Cardboard itself is only $15. Perhaps even more exciting than virtual reality is augmented reality. Whereas virtual reality takes you to another world, augmented reality allows you to look at the world you're in through the lens of your smartphone camera, but it layers some sort of information over the top of what you're seeing with your very eyes in the real world. Some of it, of course, is just for fun, but there are a lot of apps that are actually incredibly useful. Take, for example, the app called Sky Guide, which lets you pan your phone through the night sky, and the stars that you're seeing with your very eyes through the lens of your smartphone camera have information layered over the top of them in terms of constellation names and constellation figures and so on. How much cooler is that than having students try to look at a star chart to work out what they're looking at in the night sky? Another really fantastic augmented reality app is Insight Heart, that shows you a virtual photorealistic beating heart floating above the floor in the room that you're in. In this case, this is my heart as it was behaving during my most recent workout as recorded by my Apple Watch. It's incredible. You can zoom in, you can rotate it, you can walk around it, you can see blood cells flowing in and out of various chambers of the heart. I mean, think about how incredibly useful this is for a student studying studying anatomy or studying nursing, to be able to see not just a diagram of a heart, but a virtual beating heart that seems so incredibly realistic. Another really good example of an augmented reality app that's very useful in education is this app called PhotoMath, that lets you scan a maths equation with the camera of your phone. It solves the equation and then shows you each of the steps that are required to solve the equation and explains what's happening during those steps. Another really engaging and useful augmented reality app is Aurasma, which has been around now for a while. Aurasma allows a teacher to make an augmented reality worksheet for their students. And when a student holds that worksheet underneath the lens of their tablet or smartphone, the photo on the worksheet springs to life and plays as a video, but it appears for all the world as though that video is stuck on the paper. It moves with the paper. I mean, it's really quite cool. It's very much like Harry Potter's newspaper. Another very practical augmented reality app for the classroom is Plickers. Each student in the class is given a card that has A, B, C, D around the margins, and they can hold up their card in a particular orientation to indicate their response to a question that's been asked. When the teacher scans the room using their smartphone or tablet, the Plickers app records every student's response based on the orientation of their card and graphs those responses. And in addition to that, it shows you how each student in the class responded. Technology can't replace good teaching, nor will it turn a bad teacher into a good teacher. But in the hands of an effective teacher, the right educational technology has the power to transform teaching and learning, making classes both more meaningful and more engaging. Visualization technology like virtual reality and augmented reality is just one way that it can do that, but there are lots of others. And in fact, at the moment, there's just an explosion of high quality, really great apps, educational apps, that address a whole lot of teaching and learning challenges that in the past there haven't been great solutions for. Whatever pedagogical challenge you're facing, I encourage you to start looking at some of the new and emerging educational tools available, and I bet you'll find one. Or involve your educational design team. I'm sure that if they don't already have a solution for you, they'll search one out for you.
Think big. Think really big. What can you do? Change what you're doing. This is a fantastic opportunity to embrace all the wonderful things we have at our fingertips and then make a plan. You might not be able to make all of the changes in one go, but separate them into increments and start to build in the things that you can, and involve your educational design team to have those rich discussions about what's going to be a good tool to use. And if you find the tools not working how you want, get a new one. There's so many on the market. Don't be afraid to try new things, and look for tools that actually get the students involved. Things like Peerwise, where the students are actually building the content. Get them to build the artifacts. You'll just be amazed at what you can learn from your students. I know I have.